Joining us today for Primetime Local News is author Sebastien De Castell. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sebastien. Really excited to be able to speak on your new novel.
Thanks for having me.
Really happy to be able to have you on here and speak on your new book called The Malevolent Seven. Sounds like it's going to be really interesting. So starting off with the most easy question, can you kind of explain what this book is all about?
Sure. So, The Malevolent Seven is a fantasy adventure novel. It's about a band of seven, what are called in the book wonderists. They're basically mercenary wizards who sell their spells to the highest bidder. Unfortunately, the highest bidder is usually kind of a jerk, and so they get themselves into a situation that they're not sure how to get out of. And we're talking about seven very troubled people who see themselves as very much not being heroic at all. But unfortunately for them, as for all of us, every once in a while, even the worst of us has to be a little heroic. There's a lot of dark humor. There's a lot of kind of wild magic systems and stuff like that. So I hope a lot of readers are going to enjoy it.
Well, I think this is a really cool idea. Now, would you say there was something that inspired you to write this?
I guess almost, I think all fantasy authors secretly want to write a Magnificent Seven with wizards. And then eventually, some of us just do. For me, I think I was really interested in this notion of people seeing themselves as the villain. And we live in kind of an unusual time that way, where because we're sort of dividing the world up into good people and bad people, and a bad person is anyone who does a bad thing, we sort of go, okay, well, I'm going to write that person off. I was kind of interested in writing about characters who saw themselves as already having been written off, and therefore just go, right, fine, we're the villains. But then what happens if you see yourself as the villain, but then there's someone's at a car crash, or someone needs your help, or in this case, there's a conspiracy that's going to enslave humanity. Are you going to sit by the sidelines? And if you step into that void, are you becoming a hero yourself, or are you still forever doomed by your past? And so I think that's what kind of drew me to those very broken wizards.
And for previous work, I'm assuming you have seen some great support in the past, of course. So do you think you'll be seeing that same support for this novel that's going to be coming out here?
I sure hope so. The thing about being a novelist is that, it's almost like any other sort of work of art. Like we're so used to the entertainment business, and when you see things like Marvel movies, which can be tons of fun, they sort of always know how it's going to open. They have all of these cues along the way. But with novels, I think it's very different. I think, if five people who are watching right now pick up the book and fall in love with it, they might actually launch a huge wave, and all of a sudden the book becomes a bestseller. Whereas, we have other examples of very famous authors who've been very successful, who suddenly put out a book and they have every reason to believe that everyone's going to enjoy it, but then all of a sudden it just lands flat. So I've been tremendously lucky to have a lot of readers who have gone from the Great Coat series, which was swashbuckling adult fantasy, to Spellslinger, which was young adult magical fantasy, and have gone through sort of all of my books. There's a review from the Financial Times in the United Kingdom, which is a very big newspaper, and they gave it this really lovely review. But I was sort of confused because I didn't even know the Financial Times, reviewed books, and so sometimes you'll get these reviews from just all different places in the world, especially if your books are published worldwide. Or I've been lucky that a lot of my books have been translated into other languages, and so it's always wonderful, and it's always fun because it's coming from different places. And usually the most fun, of course, is when you're just getting letters from readers who say, I was really down, or I was down on myself and I didn't know kind of what I was doing, and I read this book. And one of the things that I think fantasy does particularly well is allow us to imagine ourselves in a very different setting, but still retain who we are and ask, how would I deal with that situation? And I think that can be a very kind of healing process. So those are kind of my favorite reviews, are the ones coming straight from readers.
Yeah, that's really amazing to hear how you're helping people out there in your own way. I think that's really interesting. Now, is there any other teasers you can let us know about, any future work that you have coming out here that you can kind of let readers and your fans know about?
Yeah, I've actually got a lot of different books coming out in the next 12 months. So The Malevolent Seven is coming out this week. It's May 11th in the UK and Australia, and then May 16th in North America. And then in August, the third of the Argosy books is coming out, which is a young adult fantasy series that I'm incredibly proud of. And so I hope more people discover that. And then in March of 2024, Play of Shadows comes out, which is the first book in the new Greatcoat series, which is the swashbuckling series. That's the one I get the most letters about, people going, when is this coming out? When is this coming out? And it's kind of, they're all so dear to my heart. So for me, it's always, I can't wait for people to see it. But because of the way publishing works, it can take quite a while. And so I just have to keep sending out these emails when people ask, saying, it's coming soon. So there's a lot more. And then there's a secret book that I'm going to put out probably in November, December. So, but I can't say anything about that yet.
No, that's no problem whatsoever. I had to try. So no, thank you so much for letting us know about some other things that are coming out. And of course, that secret project that's going to be coming out soon. I bet many readers and fans will be excited to hear about your future work. So once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and good luck on your newest novel.
Thanks so much, Shelby.